Hey y'all, well, first time I tried this, the sound didn't work, so maybe this time I can bust it out a bit faster. But anyways, I just need to get this out. This might be a bit rambly, but hopefully I can kind of one-shot this. It's taking a lot of my headspace, and I've artificially been holding back my progression just for the sake of this video, essentially. So you can see the idea is basically just to get max Ancestral Warrior Totems, and so I always like to start with the Y. The reason is for this is mainly because I wanted to share these, as the title says, the very deterministic high DPS weapon crafting for poor people and SSF. The main reason for that is when you look at from POE2 DB, you look at all these weapon types. Essentially, the Mace is the only one which has this mod, increased physical damage, and this rolls up fairly high, like almost like 150%. Comes with the downside, reduced attack speed, and God forbid, I despise maces when I first picked them up as well. Like I put on that rolling slam, I tried it once on a wolf, and I instantly switched characters. But in this case, I'm kind of playing like a mid-ranged Ancestral Warrior Totem build. So it's actually kind of fine. The reduced attack speed doesn't really matter as much because, you know, according to that Palstron video, they kind of have an inbuilt timer anyways, so that doesn't matter as much. And you look at all the other kind of weapon types like quarterstaves, a lot of elemental stuff, crossbows, you know, it's kind of totems and grenades and stuff, and talismans, it's kind of random stuff, totems, companions, and then bows and spears. There's also a lot of like companion stuff. So basically only a mace is the only one which has this increased physical mod, and it rolls pretty high. So I started off with these two maces. Part of the main reason is because it has this implicit, it has a lower base damage, but this implicit on critical kill they explode for 10% as more physical damage. Again, playing the Oracle, this basically happens 100% of the time. So another kind of build crafting tech there. I had these two maces and actually cheated a little bit in terms of SSF. Technically, I'm in trade league, but most of the time I'm essentially SSF. But for the sake of testing, I actually bought, I think, one of these omens or something. Maybe one of the suffix omens. So I started off with this mace actually, which is this one down here, and the prefix is so deterministic because you can basically start with anything and get a fairly decently high DPS weapon. So if this one rolled with flat Phys, but it could be, you could start with flat fire or elemental. This one also came with crit chance, which is nice because a base Ruination Maul has like a, that was my old Maul. A base Ruination Maul has a base of 8%. So for an Oracle, it's nice. Unfortunately, I rolled it off in the future anyways. Then I used an essence to put on attack speed because I knew it would come with the downside. Filled out the suffixes. Used the suffix omen and a greater essence of abrasion for the extra Phys in case I wanted to test anything with extra damage, which comes with the Oracle as well. It rolled off the attribute requirements, which was nice, but then I used the greater essence of battle for the +5 melee skills. That one rolled off my crit, unfortunately, but it kept my attack speed, which is fine. And then it resulted in this 150% increased Phys damage and reduced attack speed. So that then socketed and qualityed up is a pretty high DPS weapon for like 100% pure determinism. If you're like super cheap and you don't have any of these omens, you can literally start with anything and you can have the similar outcome just without the extra Phys. This would have been just anything. So if you were to start with anything, you could use the just greater essence of abrasion instead of the perfect for the extra Phys. So the greater would have given you flat Phys. Then you desecrate on the final prefix. So that's incredibly deterministic. And yes, totems, I know a lot of people don't like maces, which I didn't at first either, but I'm essentially playing this build, which is kind of like a mid-ranged, very scaredy cat build. Because, you know, I'm trying to farm Abyss and Ritual, which gets pretty rippy. So yeah, and you need something like, I just need something where I wasn't, originally I started out with like, you know, the Ice Wolf, but you know, if you don't freeze something, then you basically die, you know. And with low DPS, that doesn't always work for you. And then I was trying to go for speed and kind of like the rampage bear, and that was good for getting around the maps, but then it just got kind of annoying to like stop and then kill stuff and then rampage again, and this just got a bit too tedious. And then this build is a bit more methodical, so if you're kind of allergic to methodical gameplay, then you should not watch this video. But if you don't mind, then this is completely fine. It's very kind of methodical and actually quite smooth, like pretty good quality of life, but a bit more button pressing. So another difference is actually when you're looking at the tree. So the big reason for Oracle is you get a lot of scaling through the passive tree relative to most other ascendancies, and just like the base tree, right? Because the Oracle comes with these big damage nodes relative to the base damage nodes. So these like just increased damage nodes are much bigger than normal nodes, and then it comes also with a lot of extra damage nodes, like these ones. There's one extra lightning, there's an extra fire, there's an extra cold, there's an extra fire here. This is well shape-shifted, but also it comes with a lot of skill effect duration, like big skill effect duration nodes here, which helps with your walking calamity, which right now my walking calamity is, you know, up 43.6 seconds, which is a long time. Just good quality of life. And my totems last as well. You know, these last almost what 21.8 seconds. So it's like you can just kind of lay them down, and that gives you enough time to get up 10, you know. Most other people, and I say this is like fairly unique because when I looked on POE Ninja, there's literally only one other person, you know, one other person. So I filter for Primal Hunger. So the tech here combining a few different things. So I looked on I saw the Dream Core video with the Warcry tech, you know, with the Ferocious War and specific skill gems, you know, your rage. This basically allows you to generate rage very quickly. And that then, you know, with this node, and then combining that with Walking Calamity. I saw this other video where this guy was using Walking Calamity and Rage Forge, so that spends your rage basically, you know, instantaneously. So most of the time that just depletes your rage, but actually, you know, if you click this button, the big downside is you don't get the effective rage, so maybe this is a completely noob thing to do, but it means your rage just generates like very consistently, which is quite nice. So that's why I can basically constantly put down these totems. So the other way that most people do it, you know, if you look at the totem POE guy, his totem build, a lot of them use the Red Feather Conduit, and they either somehow use a jewel to get to resonance, to convert their power charges to endurance charges, or you have to like path all the way around here. So I did that at first. I actually, with that, trying to use another unique body armor that was with power charges and converting to endurance charges. So this one actually works full switch crit because you're literally always critting with Oracle. That kind of worked, but again, you have to path I had to path all the way around here because I don't have any special jewels. And it just felt like I lost a lot of power, even relative like losing all the rage. So I actually like don't stack rage anymore because it helps me to get up to Walking Calamity faster, and then the amount of rage isn't doing anything, so it's just like constantly regenning. As you can see here, it's just constantly regenning. So I would say that's actually pretty unique because literally there's only, when I filtered for Primal Hunger and Ancestral Warrior Totems, there's literally only one other person, and their build is not quite the same. It's a bit similar, but it's not quite the same. Like they're not using the Warcry tech, you know, for example. So this is just to point out, this is not like anything super innovative, just if you want to learn something, that is one thing you can do. And maybe it's like completely dumb to give up that much power to the rage, because you know, then you don't get to take advantage of Berserk and stuff, but this is just big quality of life. It's like when I play the game, it's like, you know, just put down a totem, put down a totem, put down a totem. It's like very slow. But when most of the time I'm just trying to get to an abyss or like set down in a ritual, you know, when you set down a ritual, throw down your Forge Hammer, throw down you get 3 of these, like you could get 4 potentially, but you know, 3 because you have the ascendancy, and then your totem has one other overabundance. It's just constantly proccing. And then this, when you throw down this is always armor breaking, because of Ferocious War. And then because everything's armor break, when you sunder it, then it's like an extra 20% Phys. The other thing I was thinking, for more damage, you can have a leap slam. This, and you know, when it consumes fully broken armor, it's like the stun buildup is crazy. If I were to put this in here just for fun, just to see, like the stun buildup is like, you know, 500%, but then you like add these just for fun to see what that's like. It's like 19. Like, this is a ridiculous stun buildup number. You know, so that's gonna stun everything. And if you were to do that, then theoretically you could also take advantage of some other interesting notes for damage scaling. Like there's a note down here, lucky against heavy stun. Oh yeah, this one. Like damage with hits is lucky against heavy stun enemies, and there's a lot of like stuff like that on the tree, which is, you know, because it's very conditional, it's bigger numbers. But if you could stun stuff, fully broken armor, this is interesting. Apparently this work does not generate life. I've seen that it prevents bosses from generating life. I haven't tested that, but that's also kind of interesting. And just to show, this took me at least to Uber Arbiter, so the whole point was just, this is kind of an early endgame build, high DPS weapon, so that I can then start working on some other stuff. And I found some other stuff, potentially, you know, maybe I'll roll, and so, you know, I have some stuff which I could get a lot of power in, you know, but I'm literally just kind of farming Vessel Echoes so I can try to roll this one Heart of the Well that I have. I've got this Adaluis, which I could use. Sign Apio, I got this after killing Arbiter this time. And then with Arbiter, I really want to get to Arbiter, just for the sake of getting to Arbiter for the power, but also just to test the kind of single target boss damage, because it's very hard to test this in a map. Like, all, you know, the bosses are all moving around differently, they all have different HPs depending on the mods, whereas Arbiter you can kind of just kill over and over again and just die, and he'll reset infinitely. So I was testing like Rolling Slam versus Sunder versus Earth Shatter, or like right away Sunder is just terrible because like you can't see anything, like when you're there's like 10 totems and like your screen, like you just cannot see anything on the ground. And then between Earth Shatter and Rolling Slam, I theorized that Earth Shatter would be faster, actually better, because Earth Shatter, if you were to look at the tooltip, the one way, you know, to scale damage is like either you hit really hard or you hit really fast or you overlap AoE, and so those are like 3 different kind of metrics to determine DPS. So like with Earth Shatter, it's kind of like hitting pretty fast and overlapping AoE. So if you could explode like 60,000 shatters with, you know, branching fissures, and I think this doesn't affect the explosion, only the fissure. So theoretically, if this were 60 times 3 each totem, that's 180 times 10 totems, like even on my crappy gear, it's like 180 times 10, that's 1.8 million, theoretically. However, the problem is, like, you basically have to be shouting constantly. However, like in a real world scenario with most bosses, like I don't have the tankiness to stand there and shout. Maybe like other, like, you know, Karn, you've got these giga armor people that you can just stand there and take anything. But me, I just built Energy Shield because that's the easiest, and I tried building armor, but it requires a lot of investment, and you need to get armor versus Ellie and then get all those mods. But like for me, it's like I can barely cap my resistances as it is. So I just went Energy Shield just to survive the one-shots. Anyways, and then getting back to the Earth Shadow, so like it's that versus Rolling Slam. So if you look at the Rolling Slam, it's like first slam 440, well, you know, that's like 130, theoretically 1,000 per totem times 10, so like 1.3 million. But the benefit, which I ended up using, even though this, you know, in this video, like when in my testing, Earth Shatter is actually faster or like better in terms of this kind of Arbiter test. In a real world scenario, like I tried doing this and like I would just get killed because like trying to stand there and shout constantly, obviously you would just die if anybody tries to focus you like a boss. So Rolling Slam is just quality of life much better. You can just drop a totem, dash away, drop a totem, dash away. And then the last thing was just a little update on my previous video in terms of the Abyss and Ritual stuff. So this actually still kind of applies in this scenario. So this was, I just ran this after beating Arbiter. I could finally roll up my Waystones and stuff. These are not like optimized by any means, but the point is, normally in my without doing the Abyss plus ritual method and you just do regular rituals, normally I was kind of starting around 3 to 500, and in the end getting up to like typically around 3,000. So even in this kind of just first try unoptimized version, I was getting over double what I would normally get in terms of favor. So I think this still applies. My previous video, that theory still applies in terms of combining Abyss plus Ritual. Abyss overruns, so it has to be an Abyss overrun map, you know. And I'm just going to dive into the end just to show you what that kind of looks like in terms of how it plays. So I just drop totems and run away, you know, because Abyss gets pretty rippy and I'm not built as a tank. I just want to survive one-shots and drop my totems, and then the totems, even if they die because of this tendency, they last for 6 extra seconds, so basically nothing lives past the totems, if you have a lot of them. And then when you actually start doing a ritual, it's like you just drop down your totems again, you drop down the Forge Hammer, it puts down this big fissure AoE on the ground, things kind of just, they die as they spawn and then they explode, and if they live longer than that, then the totems take care of them. So that's basically the way that plays. And that's about it. So hope this helped somebody, especially the crafting stuff, and maybe also some of the stuff about oracles, disintegrating mauls, ruination mauls. Some of this, hopefully this helps somebody, especially, you know, maybe you're starting a private league and you need something to get you to Arbiter. Anyways, that's it for now. Happy hunting. Peace out.